warlord emerged, a bold strategist who wanted to stamp his name on the historical record by pursuing the unification of Japan. He was Oda Nobunaga, one of the three major heroes of the unified Japanese state. His real story mingles with the legends that have blossomed from his astonishing deeds. His epic campaigns, unflinching resolve, and audacious spirit have inspired generations, drawing both admiration and fear. But what is the story of the man underlying the myth? A tyrannical warrior who pursued absolute control over his opponents, or a tireless revolutionary who could see beyond the chaos of his time and longed to mold a united Japan under a new order? This is the saga of Oda Nobunaga. Oda Nobunaga was born in 1534 in Nagoya Castle, Ari Prefecture, as the son of Oda Nobunaga, the leader of the Oda clan. His birth occurred in a splintered Japan right during the Sengoku era, where feudal lords vied for territory and power, sending the country into a seemingly never-ending tailspin of war and scheming. At the time, the Oda clan was a medium-sized stronghold in Ari, controlling a strategic region, but constantly under threat from more powerful clans such as the Imagawa to the east and Naito to the north. While not among the most influential in Japan, it had significant regional importance, acting as a bridge between the main trade and military routes in the central region of the archipelago. Oda Nobunaga was a practical leader and a talented warrior. He had cemented the clan's hold over parts of Ari, but his position was continually challenged by internal and external factions. The political situation was volatile, and the clan's future depended on brittle alliances, political marriages, and battlefield victories. Despite his efforts to maintain power, Hyde was well aware that the Oda's position was indeed fragile against the merciless backdrop of war. Nobunaga was born into this unstable and challenging environment. From the very beginning, his life was bound to be marred by both external and internal conflicts. Heir to the clan, he shouldered the burden of upholding and expanding his family's legacy in an atmosphere where only the strongest survived. But no one could have guessed that this boy, born into a minor clan and beset by adversity, would become one of the greatest conquerors in Japanese history, changing the fate of his homeland forever. Ari Prefecture, the birthplace of Nobunaga, was a microcosm of the division that ravaged Japan during the Sengoku era. While nominally under control of the Oda clan, the province was a far cry from a unified territory. Internally, the clan suffered from bitter divisions between various family branches, each contesting control over chunks of territory, while the outside powerful neighbors pressured it. Nobunaga's father knew that the clan's survival would rely on more than fighting external enemies. The greatest struggle was internal unification. The Oda clan was formed by several subordinate leaders known as shogunai, who controlled small castles and villages within the province. These often resented Hyde's central authority, behaving like self-governing lords and staking rivalries that weakened the clan. Unifying Owari was a strategic necessity for Hyde. Unless he had complete control over the province, he could not efficiently consolidate resources or mobilize troops to face external threats. To achieve this goal, Hyde turned to a blend of military force, political alliances, and diplomatic maneuvering. The struggle to unify Ori was far from simple. Nonetheless, there were influential individuals from the Oda clan who regarded Hyde with distrust, considering his ambitions a threat to the local balance of power. Rather than uniting strong leadership, clan branches often feuded with each other, weakening any efforts at centralization. Hyde was also opposed by nobles who wanted to maintain their autonomy, afraid of losing control over their own fiefdoms. Oda Nobunaga grew in this chaotic landscape. From an early age, he not only witnessed his father's external conflicts, but also treachery and intrigue within his own clan. These internal quarrels would shape his outlook on leadership, teaching him that unification could not be attained by sheer strength of arms alone, but also required guile and unwavering commitment. From his father, Nobunaga would inherit the will to unify Owari, but also the certainty that a strong central leader could bring stability to a fragmented land. Oda Nobunaga's childhood was shaped by both freedom and chaos, traits that would shape his rebel spirit and his vision of leadership. As Oda Nobu's son, he grew up in Nagoya, castle among warriors, politicians, and the upheaval of relentless war era. Nevertheless, opposite to what was expected of a young heir, Nobunaga was renowned for his unruly nature and eccentric behavior. From a noticeably early age, he exhibited a brash personality and scorn for social conventions. He often shunned the era's formal etiquette, choosing instead to wander around the castle grounds in ordinary clothes, playing with peasants, or engaging in impromptu combat with other children. Whereas his brothers diligently adhered to the traditional warrior and noble training, the Wanaga was perceived as a blaze of fire in the woods, shining but unpredictable. Understanding the need to mold the young man for future responsibilities, Nuhide assigned Misahide as his tutor. He was a well-respected samurai who served both the imperial court and the Ashikaga shogunate, as well as being a trusted advisor to the Oda clan when he undertook the monumental task of educating and disciplining the clans. He sensed that Nobunaga's potential was hidden beneath his war behavior and that it needed to be channeled into something greater. Under Masahide's guidance, Nobunaga was taught the basics of leadership, military, strategy, politics, and administration. Masahide also taught him the value of diplomacy and respect for traditions. Although Naonaga internally disliked these lessons, the tutor excelled in his patience and ability to harness Nanaga's energy and intellect, fostering his creativity and strategic thinking. Despite his initial unwillingness, Nobunaga started to absorb Masahide's teachings in surprising ways. He exhibited an innate grasp of power dynamics and an extraordinary ability to step outside traditional boundaries. Instead of simply replicating conventional tactics, Nobunaga defied the norms, propounding bold ideas that frequently shocked his mentors. The relationship between Nobunaga and Masahide was intricate. As Masahide sought to impose discipline, Nobunaga kept testing his limits as if he were constantly daring his tutor to prove him wrong. But Masahide persevered, understanding that Nobunaga's true genius was in his talent for breaking and reinventing the rules. Though bumpy, his upbringing was vital in shaping the young leader. Under Masahide's guidance, Nobunaga started to excel in areas such as military strategy and political order, crafting a unique vision that would later put him ahead of his contemporaries. Nevertheless, the untamed spirit and irreverent nature of Nobunaga lingered, turning him not only into an effective leader, but also a revolutionary in an era of inflexible tradition. However, the chaos boiling over in Adi and outside its borders was about to reach a tipping point. As Nobunaga came of age, under the shadow of his clan's machinations and Masahide's lessons, the political and military upheavals in Japan intensified, ushering into a new era, one that the young heir, with his daring vision and untamed spirit, was destined to change forever. Despite his highly fertile land, Adi province was only a minor territory in the complex conflicts between clans during the Sengoku period, but the pragmatic Oda Nobunaga, chief of the Oda clan, understood that the province's strategic position would still make a major trade route and key to military logistics in such a disturbed period. However, he also knew that to turn the province into a power, the strong leadership of the Oda clan would be crucial. Although an ambitious ruler, Nobunaga was highly realistic and knew that this Herculean quest probably could not be accomplished in just one generation. That's why solid training for his son and heir Oda Nobunaga was so important. While he had appointed Masahide as a tutor to develop the young man's intellect and discipline, Nuhide felt that some lessons could only be imparted by himself, especially through his own example. As clan leader, he looked to his son as the heir not only to his name, but also to his ideal of a unified and strong Adi. Nuhide introduced Naonaga to the realities of power from an early age. He frequently took the boy to military councils where the Adi Lords discussed strategies, alliances, and war tactics. On such occasions, Nuhide allowed Nobunaga to watch the mechanics of authority and influence, teaching him the importance of leadership and the ability to control a splinter group of allies. While the young man seldom spoke at these meetings, Nobuhide noticed his watchful stare, as if he were soaking up each detail of the discussions. He was keen to take Nobunaga to the battlefield, even at an early age, to let him experience the consequences of conflict and the strain of a commander's decisions. Nobunaga closely observed how his father led troops, instilled confidence in the men, and dealt with the pressures of war. His first-hand exposure to the brutal nature and strategy of the battlefield shaped Nobunaga's pragmatic and often merciless approach to leadership. Yet, the father-son relationship was also riddled with conflict. Nobuhide acknowledged Nobunaga's innate genius, but also worried about his unruly nature and contempt for tradition. On more than one occasion, they clashed over how Nobunaga ought to behave as clan heir. Nobuhide scolded his son for his failure to observe etiquette and his fiery actions, afraid that these traits could compromise the future of the family. Nevertheless, Nobuhide never took Nobunaga's potential for granted. He spotted beneath the young man's defiance an unyielding spirit and an ability to see outside conformity that could lead the clan to a glittering future. For this reason, while Masahide focused on teaching discipline and virtue, Noah taught his son the practical lessons of survival and power. Oda Nobunaga masterminded major advances in consolidating the Oda clan's power in Adi. He succeeded in unifying fragmented factions of the clan, laying down a significant power footing that would clear the way for his son's deeds. This lack of cohesion was weakening the clan and leaving it vulnerable to powerful neighbors such as the Imagawa and Seto clans. To solidify power, Nobuhide embraced military force and strategic alliances, aiming to build a centralized leadership. One of Nobuhide's major advancements was the 1538 conquest, Kyoto Castle. Until then, it had been controlled by a rival faction within the Oda clan, symbolizing the fragmentation crippling the province. Nobuhide personally spearheaded the campaign to capture the fortress, proving his ability as a strategist and commander. The victory at Kyoto was a notable change for Nobuhide and the Oda clan. The castle not only became the clan's main fortress, but also a strategic hub for future military campaigns and for Adi's centralized administration. Its location meant it could control the regional trade and military routes, boosting Nobuhide's position against his rivals. Kyoto soon became the heart of the Odo power. Having Kyoto as the headquarters, Nobuhide pursued his efforts to unify the clan's factions. He effectively wielded a blend of marriage alliances, negotiations, and military force to overwhelm dissident leaders and cement control over significant parts of Adi. Nobuhide also dealt with external threats, including constant attacks from the Imagawa, thereby ensuring that the clan could function in relative security. But the Imagawa clan consistently represented one of the greatest external threats to the Oda's rule in Adi. Led by Imagawa Yoshimoto, the clan controlled the provinces of Mikawa, Totoi, and Suruga, forging one of the strongest and most well-organized powerhouses in the region. Imagawa's ambition to expand his territory brought Ari under permanent military and political pressure. From an early stage, the Buhide understood that to safeguard the independence of the Oda clan, it would be vital to firmly resist Imagawa raids. He harnessed resources for strategic castles and directed personal defensive campaigns to repel the enemy incursions. The battles between both clans were intense, with Nobuhide often overcoming his resource limitations through clever tactics and a profound knowledge of the terrain. One of Nobuhide's greatest victories against the Imagawa was the Ari's successful defense against a massive invasion in 1542. This victory ensured the survival of the clan and strengthened their position as a respectable stronghold in the region. The Buhide proved that although the Oda were inferior in power compared to the Imagawa, their determination and strategic abilities could alter the course of all battles. While Nobuhide was a skilled military leader, he understood That brute force alone would not be sufficient to deal with foes like the Imagawa. Acknowledging the importance of strategic alliances, he focused his attention on the Seto clan, which oversaw the province of Mino north of Ari, led by Seto Dosen, known as the Viper of Mino for his political acumen and flair. The Seto clan was both a potential ally and a dangerous rival. In a daring diplomatic move, New Hyde had proposed a marriage between his son Oda Nobunaga and Noheim, daughter of Saito Dosen. This was carried out in 1594, sealing an alliance that bolstered Oda's position in many ways. The connection with the Silto afforded security on Adi's northern border, which meant that New Hyde could focus his efforts on threats from the east, where the Imagawa were still pressing. Also, the alliance with the Seto clan boosted the Oda's prestige, turning them from a regional clan into a major force with wider strategic ties. Seto Dosen, for his part, considered New Hyde a worthy leader, and regarded the alliance as an opportunity to cement his own position in Mino while retaining a cautious relationship with other powerful clans. Also in 1594, Oda Nobunaga pulled off a daring maneuver with a 6-year-old boy named Matsuda Takuchiyo, who would go on to become the powerful Tokugawa, one of the most influential figures in Japanese history. Takuchiyo was being taken as a hostage to the Imagawa clan, according to a political agreement between the Matsuda and Imagawa clans. However, on the way, New Hyde's forces stopped the caravan, capturing the young heir and bringing him into Kyoto Castle. His kidnapping was a carefully planned move by New Hyde. The Oda clan was now struggling to consolidate its position, in Adi under pressure from both the Matsuda and the powerful Imagawa clans. The young hostage was an asset in this power game. New Hyde held him in custody as a bargaining chip, pursuing two clear objectives: to weaken the position of the Matsuda clan by stopping them from strengthening their alliances with the Imagawa, and to use Takuchiyo's imprisonment as a way of putting pressure on the Imagawa clan in any peace negotiations or strategic agreements. Takuchiyo lived under surveillance in Kyoto's castle during his confinement. Despite being a hostage, he was also looked after with great care, reflecting New Hyde's intention to preserve the young man's political value. The presence of Takuchiyo in Adi also served as a symbol of New Hyde's power, evidencing his ability to challenge both the Matsuda and the powerful Imagawa in an era when fragile alliances and betrayals were the norm. Oda Nobunaga was 15 when he met Tokugawa, and the age difference prevented them from striking up any kind of relationship. But now Naga could see that this boy was unique. His sharp eyes and flawless posture indicated that he will become a great man in the future. In 1551, after 2 years of strain, negotiations, Noah decided to free Takuchiyo and hand him over to the Imagawa clan in exchange for a truce or an agreement that would allow the Oda clan to solidify the forces in Adi without immediate interference from Imagawa. This seemingly straightforward episode played a crucial role. It proved to be a display of political and strategic savvy for New Hyde, providing a brief respite from external pressures. For Takeo, it was a started journey that would later transform him into Tokugawa Ieyasu, the man who would unify Japan decades later. Notwithstanding his rebellious youth and quirky nature, Oda Nobunaga began to show signs of the extraordinary leader he would become in his teens. His exceptional vision and capacities to think beyond the traditions of the time were apparent in small but significant gestures and decisions that challenged the expectations of his mentors and allies. He exhibited an unquenchable curiosity along with the reckless courage that was also a driving force behind his development. Under Hayate Masahide's supervision and the direct influence of his father New Hyde, he began to fine-tune his strategic sense and develop a deep understanding of the power dynamics in Adi. Owing to his rebellious ways and lack of reverence for tradition, Nobunaga was known as the Fool of Adi by his critics. But those who observed him closely realized that there was nothing silly about him. Using his unorthodox methods, he accomplished everything he set out to achieve, although he openly defied tradition and The behavior expectations of an heir, Nobunaga impressed with his critical thinking and ability to anticipate the political movements of the other court members. In 1594, at the age of 15, the incredibly strong Nobunaga displayed an unwavering confidence on the battlefield and a daring spirit that inspired both admiration and concern in his allies and enemies alike. He was also deeply charming and charismatic, qualities that gradually won the respect of more seasoned warriors. These early leadership signs did not go unnoticed by Honnō-ji, notwithstanding the frequent tensions between father and son, fed by Nobunaga's defiance and unwillingness to follow traditional protocols. Honnō-ji acknowledged a latent genius in the boy. He had a mind that not only understood the rules of the game, but also sought to reinvent them. This potential was clear enough for Honnō-ji to make a crucial decision to declare Nobunaga the official heir to the Oda clan. This step, taken around 1594, was an important milestone, not only for Nobunaga but for the future of the Oda clan. With this designation, Honnō-ji made it clear that despite the doubts of some vassals about the young man's maturity, he had faith that Nobunaga could lead the clan in rough times. It was a daring wager, but one that reflected Honnō-ji's strategic vision and his belief in his son's outstanding potential. This moment not only signaled the beginning of Nobunaga's transition from a young rebel to an emerging leader, but also put the weight of the Oda clan's future on his shoulders. While the days of greater glory were ahead, the appointment as official heir was the first step for Nobunaga to move on from being just a troublesome boy and start on the path that would lead him to become one of the most influential figures in Japanese history. After years of incessant battles, tense negotiations, and tireless efforts to cement the power of the Oda clan, Oda Nobunaga started to show signs of physical decline. In 1551, the relentless pressure to lead in an era marred by betrayal and political chaos was taking its toll. Known for his resolve and ability to overcome adversity, the Buhide was now facing an enemy that not even his wits could defeat: the deterioration of his own health. While the exact cause of his illness is unclear, many believe that the physical and mental wear and tear accumulated over the years was a decisive factor. He had spent much of his life leading military campaigns to protect and expand Ari territory, facing both external enemies like the Imagawa and the internal tensions of a fragmented clan. These duties left no room for rest, and the weight of his leadership began to manifest itself in growing weakness. Kyoto Castle, which Honnō had turned into the center of Oda power, became the venue for his final instructions. He gathered up his top advisors and vassals to reassert his vision of a unified and resourceful clan. As his health rapidly declined, Nub knew he would not have time to finish his work, but he was confident that he had laid the foundations of his son Nobunaga to continue his mission. Already acknowledged as the heir, Oden Nobunaga gradually began to take on more responsibilities under his father's watchful eye. Despite his concerns about his son's eccentric behavior, Nobu passionately believed in Nobunaga's talent and his ability to lead in such a tumultuous time. He handed over to Nobunaga not only the leadership of the clan, but also the burden of hope for a future where Oda could not only survive, but thrive. Late in 1551, Noah fell victim to a crippling illness. His death was the end of an era for the Oda clan, while leaving a lingering legacy of strength and resilience. While Ari province was still splintered between different branches of the Oda clan, it was already displaying signs of the power it would become, but it was still beset by internal and external threats. Honnō-ji left this world knowing that his son, with all his potential and ambition, would have to face even bigger challenges to solidify what he had started. In early 1551, Oda Nobunaga's funeral provided a stage for the political tensions that were boiling within the Oda clan. The death of Honnō-ji, who had kept the clan together through his leadership strength and strategic ability, resulted in a power vacuum that quickly led to divisions and uncertainty. While Honnō-ji had expressly named Oda Nobunaga as his heir, the succession was not widely accepted. The 17-year-old Nobunaga was seen by many vassals as a reckless and eccentric boy who threatened the stability of the clan with his lack of respect for conventions. This contrasted sharply with his younger brother, Oda Nobunaga, whose respectful demeanor and persona, more in line with traditional expectations, made him an attractive choice for the clan's conservative branches. Nobunaga was quickly embraced by supporters who spotted him in a chance to keep order and preserve Nui's legacy without the hazards associated with Nobunaga's leadership. The clan's political rift was clear during the festival. Nihir's vassals included two main groups. The first, consisting of loyal and pragmatic warriors, believed that Nobunaga, for all his eccentricities, was the best choice to lead the clan. They acknowledged his strategic potential and audacious vision, characteristics that could lead the Oda clan to a future of greater glory. The second group, made up of more traditional and conservative leaders, preferred to support Nobunaga. For them, Nobunaga represented the continuity of stability and respect for the traditions that Nobunaga had cultivated. Oda Nobuhide's funeral was supposed to be a reverent moment of unity, a solemn ceremony to honor the leader who had steered the Oda clan through challenging times. For many of those present, this event became memorable for unexpected reasons owing to behavior of the young heir Oda Nobunaga. Although his siblings, including Nobunaga and the clan leaders, attended the funeral in formal attire, rigorously following the mourning protocol, Nobunaga arrived in simple clothes, rather peasant-like. He was not wearing the ceremonial kimono that symbolized status and respect, opting instead for a worn cotton suit and sandals that pointed to his disregard for etiquette. To onlookers, his demeanor was not only an insult to Nobuhide's memory, but also an outrage to clan traditions. He neither bowed properly at the altar where his father's spirit was honored, nor did he perform the customary incense rituals with the expected formality. It seemed to many that Nobunaga was not mourning, but openly breaking with convention. One moment that left a deep impression on those present was when Nobunaga abruptly stepped up to the altar and threw the incense on the fire in an ungraceful gesture that lacked the usual formalities. He then remained standing, looking directly at the altar in an act that may be interpreted as dismissive. His behavior, Nobunaga's ability to lead the clan in such unstable times. Some even considered him unfit to succeed his father. A real battle would have broken out if it had not been for the soothing skills of Hirate Masahide, who managed to avoid the worst. Nobunaga's attitude at the funeral enraged many vassals who began to openly support his brother, and Nobunaga's reputation as a fool of Adi spread even further. But the real fools were those who failed to realize that all of Nobunaga's actions at the funeral were coldly planned. By inciting the anger of his opponents, revealed themselves. Nobunaga now knew exactly who his main opponents were in the Oda Nobunaga's sights. The reign of the young Nobunaga was to begin in bloody fashion. Upon Odanya's death in 1551, the clan was thrown into a political period of instability and internal strife. While Nobunaga had been appointed heir, his eccentric behavior and brash vision of leadership sparked resistance within the clan. This situation gave rise to opposing factions vying for control of Atari, turning the line of succession into an open conflict. Nobunaga supporters consisted of vassals loyal to Nobunaga, who believed in the young leader's potential. These allies overlooked Nobunaga's eccentricities, recognizing his strategic intelligence and forward-thinking outlook. The leaders of this faction included pragmatic and far-sighted men, like the respected samurai Masahide, who viewed Nobunaga as having the strength to face up to external threats and lead the clan in times of change. They felt that Nobunaga was the only one who could stand up to powerful enemies, such as the Imagawa clan, and consolidate the Oda's hold on Ori. By contrast, the faction supporting Oda Nobunaga, the younger brother Nobunaga, was mostly formed of conservative leaders and castellans from smaller Oda clan branches. They perceived Nobunaga as a more reliable and traditional leader, aligning himself with the values that Nobunaga represented. Senior leaders, such as Shibata Katsu and Heihachi Hirata openly supported Niyuki, afraid that Nobunaga's leadership would estrange allies and weaken the clan's position. This clique started to conspire, looking for ways to strengthen their position and undermine Nobunaga's authority. When tensions rose and encouraged by his allies, Nobuki began scheming a coup to overthrow Nobunaga and take control of the clan. The conspiracy was hatched in 1554, with Nobuki attracting support from disgruntled nobles and organizing secret alliances between distant branches of the Oda clan. Shibata Katsuya and Heihachi Hidesata had crucial roles to fill in the conspiracy. Both were experienced and highly influential military leaders within the clan, having access to troops and resources that could be used against Nobunaga. The conspirators suspected that an open rebellion could destabilize Nobunaga enough to force him to step down as leader. This split considerably weakened the Oda clan at a time when external threat from the Imagawa remained constant, while Nobunaga attempted to consolidate his power and centralize the administration in Kyoto. Nobuki and his supporters worked in the shadows to disrupt his authority. Tensions within the Oda clan reached a critical point in 1555. Oda Nobuki, who was determined to usurp leadership of the clan, organized an open rebellion against Nobunaga, hoping that he could seize a moment of instability and take control of Owari. Knowing what his brother was up to, Nobunaga readied himself for the clash. Displaying his strategic skill, he gathered his loyal forces and anticipated the rebels' movements. The crucial battle took place near Ino, a strategic area that controlled important routes within the province. Although numerically inferior, Nobunaga's forces were comprised of experienced and deeply loyal warriors. His bold, charismatic leadership inspired the men on the battlefield. In contrast, Nobuki's troops, despite the support of the rebel Castellans, lacked the cohesion and fighting spirit that Nobunaga had nurtured in his followers. When the forces met at Ino, Nobunaga employed unexpected tactics to throw the enemy off balance. He resorted to flanking maneuvers and surprise strikes, exploiting the terrain to his advantage. The battle was fierce and brutal. By the height of the confrontation, Nobuki's lines had started to crumble. Perceiving imminent defeat, a number of his allies retreated, leaving him vulnerable. However, Nobunaga showed an unexpected mercy. Instead of slaughtering his brother on the battlefield, he ordered Nobuki to be captured alive. Many were surprised by his choice to spare Nobuki's life. At a time when treason was often met with immediate death, Nobunaga was supposed to eliminate any threat to his power. However, he chose to pardon his brother, perhaps in the hope of avoiding an unbridgeable break within the clan and preserving family unity. This decision was perhaps influenced by some advice from close vassals or by a personal sense of responsibility. Nobunaga could have believed that granting Niyuki a second chance would win him back as an ally, strengthen the clan against external threats, and send a peaceful message to the rebellious samurai. Despite Nobunaga's mercy, this peace within the Oda clan was short-lived. In 1556, only a year after the Battle of Ino, Niyuki started plotting against his brother again. Incited by disgruntled allies and possibly resentful of his previous defeat, he plotted a new coup to topple and take over Nobunaga. This time around, the plot was more cautious, looking for external alliances and trying to undermine Nobunaga's authority. In secrecy, spies and informants loyal to Nobunaga, however, detected the scheme before it could be carried out. The revelation of the betrayal profoundly shook Nobunaga, who found himself not only betrayed as a leader, but also as a brother. Sensing the previous leniency had not secured Niyuki's loyalty and that allowing another opportunity for treachery could be disastrous for the clan, Nobunaga made a definitive decision, establishing that no alternative existed. Nobunaga ordered Nobuki's execution. The event was conducted quietly and discreetly, ostensibly to avoid turmoil among the vassals and to ensure stability within the clan. Some accounts suggest that Niyuki was invited to commit seppuku, preserving his honor even in death. The choice to eliminate his brother was a turning point in Nobunaga's life. His willingness to take extreme measures to cement his power and protect the clan from internal divisions. This action sent a clear message to all vassals and potential conspirators. Betrayal was not to be tolerated regardless of family ties or past alliances. Nobunaga's death meant that Nobunaga had disposed of his greatest rival for command of the Oda clan. This action meant that he could now turn his sights on other dissident leaders and further consolidate his control of Owari. Castles once under the influence of rebellious factions were retaken, and conspiratorial leaders were then replaced by loyal vassals. Nobunaga's execution also heralded a change in Nobunaga himself. He emerged as a more purposeful and perhaps ruthless leader, understanding that the unification and strength of the clan required personal sacrifices and complex decisions. This experience molded his future approach to the pursuit of Japan's unification, where he would often offer daring and